Hello. Today we're going to take a look at how we can take ordinary email that comes from systems such as Microsoft Exchange or Outlook, Google Mail, Yahoo, any of the number of independent email system providers out there, and transform that email into a document, image, and associated index information for use within a content management, enterprise content management, or workflow type system. So to do that, um, we want to introduce a module into our CAPSYS system called the Email Gateway. Email Gateway is a separate licensed module, or what we call a input source, that allows you to automate the monitoring and ingestion of email messages and its associated attachments for one or more email boxes. Those email boxes can be on-premise email boxes, or they could be off-premise hosted by third parties, such as Google Mail and Yahoo and any other third-party provider of email services. Once I've added my appropriate email gateway software and added the appropriate license, this input source becomes available to my system. I'm going to go ahead and configure it. And configuration will allow me to go in and set up the email box behavior in terms of how I want messages that are directed to an email box appear within the context of a CAPSYS capture system. So I've set up two different email boxes here, one called CAPSYS 20 Gmail and another one called CAPSYS Dealer Sales at gmail.com. So these are two independent email boxes that I have this single system monitoring. So this could be, again, a Yahoo system or a Microsoft Exchange system. It doesn't matter. The point is that you can have one or more email boxes being monitored by a single instance of the email gateway product. So let's take a look at what the configuration looks like for the CAPSYS 20 email box. What I want to point out here is that for this particular mailbox, we have it being monitored, and any messages that come in are being mapped to a CAPSYS batch profile called HR Auto Document Classify. So what HR Auto Document Classify looks like is, we'll take a look at our process here. You can see we have a pretty extensive process going on here. So emails come in to the start process, and the first thing they are done done after the email messages are transformed is they're put into what's called a CAPSYS capture case format, and then it's sent off to this QSX called Automatic Document Classifier. So here's where we read the contents of the email and make determinations how we want that to be handled and managed and subsequently routed throughout the system. So let's go back to our email gateway, and we'll go back to the configure option for our input source. And now what we'll do is we will take a look at the CAPSYS Dealer Sales inbox. And what we're going to do with that is process that completely different. We're going to map all the messages and their associated attachments and route them to the deal packets process. So what does deal packets look like? Deal packets is a very, again, pretty complex workflow process going on. We're looking for perhaps barcodes. We're converting any PDFs to images, and we're doing some field checks, and then doing some document classification, routing, etc. So you could see two very different workflows for two different mailboxes, but being handled by the same CAPSYS capture system. So a couple other things to point out with the email gateway product in terms of what we can do. Not only can we manage documents or email messages and their attachments coming into us at the batch level, but we can also route or direct them to a document level. So I also have extensive configuration capabilities here. I can set up automatic replies for messages that are successfully processed by the email gateway product. So the sender will receive an acknowledgement back that the message has been received along with the attachment, Perhaps you'd use this not only to acknowledge that, but to send them back a case number if you're using it for case management type applications. And then you can carbon copy an internal email or an external email address. So for auditing purposes, you want to note that every message coming in is being acknowledged by the system and you're sending them a message back. You can do a carbon copy to internal or external email messages. Validation tab here gives us a lot of capabilities. If you want to implore some practices in place that normalize content coming in, and you sort of train the senders to say, I only want PDFs and TIFFs. Anything else that you send me, I'm going to kindly reject back and then send you a message saying it didn't meet our standards. So this is a way for you to be able to control the content coming in to make sure it meets your corporate standards and your content format types that you're willing to accept. So if somebody sends you a BMP and it's not in this list, it'll get rejected back, and you can compose a message back why it's being rejected. You also can say, I require certain DPI formats for any images that are coming to you. You can put in words or phrases and have the system reject that automatically for you as well in a nice type of a message. Any extraneous attachments, a lot of times you'll get .txt's, especially with AT&T Mail, that come in, and perhaps you just want to reject those .txt messages and attachments and only accept PDFs and TIFFs or BMPs and JPEGs as an example. And then you can set up a global set of characteristics on your global tab here. If this is going to be used to send email out, you're going to need to bounce the messages against a mail server. So here's where you configure your outbound email system. Again, you can set up logging for auditing purposes so that all the messages are put in a separate table outside of our standard audit log. You can copy additional people in your email addresses when you're sending email out of the system, or designate a preferred sender for the outbound email, like a CAPSYS system administration or something of that nature, just so they know the email is coming from an unattended server. Okay, so these are just some handy features to help you with the configuration process. Once I've gone ahead and configured everything, I can go ahead and hit the OK button, and it will make the service ready for enablement. A couple other features real quick. I can say that emails coming in, each email can be converted into its own separate batch, or I can aggregate emails together and create a batch out of multiple emails. I can save the email body, put the email body ahead of the attachments, or if I uncheck that, the attachments will be in reverse. I can also save the body of the message as an image. This is helpful so that if anybody sends you anything in a message format rather than storing it as a .txt file, you can convert that message into an image format such as TIFF or PDF. Using this option here, I can convert all the attachments automatically to PDF. If I uncheck that, I have other options here too. And I can automatically up resolution on images if they're coming in at a format that perhaps is less than what your requirements dictate. So once you've configured everything here, I hit the OK button. Our configuration is set. Next thing I would do is start my CAPSYS service. So to do that, to enable it, I just hit the start button, and now this email gateway server is enabled. And periodically, about every few minutes, and this is configurable as well, you'll start seeing messages show up in your audit log as a result of polling those two mailboxes, and messages will start to come in if they are available inside of those email boxes. So what does it look like at the end of the day for the end user? I'm transforming your typical email boxes, that you're monitoring looking for messages, opening them up, printing those messages, the attachments, perhaps only then to run it over to a scanner to drop it back into the scanner and scan them and manually index them. What we're doing is we're taking those messages, automatically processing them, creating cases inside of CAPSYS in the form of a batch or a document, taking the attachment, making it a page within the context of the document, taking the footer of the message, making it a page if I want to retain that, and taking the body of the message and making it a page, and then scraping any metadata out of those messages and using it as index information, so that hopefully at the end what I can do is facilitate the indexing of my email messages automatically and present those to my workflow or my line of business system with minimal or no human intervention. Thank you very much for your time. If you have questions, feel free to contact us by visiting our website or giving us a call directly.